Takanas Haftorah, Hashis Takana in the times of the Yevonim that made a Gzeira to be Mevatel Kriyas HaTorah. We're learning now Hilchas Kriyas HaTorah. The Yevonim wanted to be Mevatel, coming up the Yom Tov of Chanukah. So there was a Takana to read in Nevi'im instead of in the Torah, something that's connected to the Parsha. If you take a look, the Levush speaks on every single Haftorah to find a pasuk. What's the connection, the Haftorah to the Parsha? Lamaisa, the Takana became bottled, and we're back with Kriyas HaTorah. We're learning Kriyas HaTorah. We want to understand the dinim. So what's pshat in the Haftorah? So there's a Moira de Gedin in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says that if you're with a minyan but you don't have Kriyas HaTorah, yeah, you went away, you have a minyan, the Sefer Torah never made it, you had a Sefer Torah, it's possible, and there's no Kriyas HaTorah. The halacha is, if there's no Kriyas HaTorah, you also don't read Haftorah as well, also not. The Halacha explains, what do you mean? Originally, Haftorah was even without Kriyas HaTorah. So why shouldn't you have Haftorah without Kriyas HaTorah? Like the Halacha, I think it's the Prima Godim, that when they, after Kriyas HaTorah came back, they made a new takana of Haftorah. The takanas Haftorah was to be connected to Kriyas HaTorah. But often that if you don't have Kriyas HaTorah, you don't have Haftorah. In today's Shiur, we're not going to speak about Haftorah. That's probably Bais a Shiur for itself. We're going to focus on the Maftir, the last Aliyah, and the Kaddish around the Maftir. The Gemara says, the Gemara Megillah, that the one that gets the Aliyah, the Haftorah, also has to be Oilul HaTorah. Why? Shaloi tehei, the kavod of the Nevi'im, shaveh to the kavod of the Torah. Right? We learned Shabbos, there's a chiv of 7 aliyahs. Then comes another aliyah, somebody that's oiler and reads in the Nevi'im, Haftorahs from the Nevi'im, from the Navi. Shaloi yoimru, people shouldn't say that it's the same kavod. These the Torah, you have 7 aliyahs, and then you have Navi. People could be oiler in the Torah, and people could be oiler in the Navi. Shaloi yoimru. So what were they masakin? They were masakin that the person that gets the aliyah for the Navi, for the Haftorah, has to be oil in the Torah as well also. And that aliyah is called Maftir. The Maftir, the Haftorah, the Maftir, that aliyah is the Maftir. Now that we have this klor, that this aliyah, that the person that's oilah is oilah, why? Because it shouldn't be. If he's only going to get Haftorah, it's going to come out that the Haftorah aliyah is bedoime like the Torah. So he has to be Oilul HaTorah also. And the person that's Oilul HaTorah also gets the Navi. The Gemara declares a shaila like this. The Gemara declares this person that gets the aliyah, this Maftir, is it Oilul min HaMinyan or Eino Oilul min HaMinyan? Das heißt, these 7 aliyahs, could you count this person that gets the Maftir? Could you count it that it's with the 7 aliyahs? He's one of the 7, or Ein Oilul min HaMinyan. Das heißt, these 7 aliyahs, and besides this 7th aliyah, there's another aliyah, this Maftir. The Gemara declares the Scheiner. The Gemara says it's a machlokes. It's a machlokes. Manda Amar that it's Oilul min HaMinyan. It's Pashat. Why shouldn't it be Oilul min HaMinyan? Why not? We just need to accomplish that the person that gets Haftorah also gets the Kriyas HaTorah. To say that means if he's only going to get Haftorah, it's going to be Shabbos. He has to get an Aliyah. So it doesn't. It could be Oilul min HaMinyan. Pasha, it's Oilul min HaMinyan. Manda Amar that it's Eino Oilul min HaMinyan is Zok the Gemara. The reason why we're giving him the Aliyah is Mishum Kavod HaTorah. Meaning to say is, it's like Rashi explains, it's v'loy misham chayva. He's not getting the aliyah because he's a pesachi of aliyah. He's getting the aliyah pashat hechetim tzedik, because if he's only going to get Haftorah, it'll be a zilzal in the Torah. So we also give him aliyah. So mamela kumtachais, this aliyah is not a real aliyah. It's only a aliyah that he shouldn't be a zilzal. But not b'Torah schiyah. Mamela it's eino oilum min HaMinyan. So good. we have a machlokes. Is this oila maftir? Is it oila men a minyan of 7 or ein oila men a minyan? It's negaya any time there's a maftir. Maftir is not only when these 7. Maftir on Yom Kippur these 6. Maftir on Yom Tiv these 5. Maftir on a Tainus these 3. I don't think there's a maftir by a 4. Maftir is it oila men a minyan? Ein oila men a minyan. Kaddish is no maftir. No Haftorah is no maftir.
When you make a shvi, then he's not in the minyan.
What's the shaila?
When you already made a shvi, so then he's not, even in the first Saturday he could be oila men a minyan. He's no longer oila in a minyan.
Oila Laminium would mean is that the one that's Oila Shvi gets Haftorah also. Very neat.
Right, but if you already made a Shvi guy, that if you already called 7 people,
yeah,
and now you're calling him up for
so you could, by the way, if it's Olam and a minion, so finished. So you grab the main Hosafas, Beseda. You can call 10 people. So Hosafa, but Olam ben Aminya would mean is not what we do. We add another lead. It could be 7, exactly 7. So we'll go very good. We'll go through Be'ez Hashem. Before we'll handle in a minute the Halacha Lamaisa. But first, let's see like this: when the Gemara declares Olam ben Aminyan, Eina Olam ben Aminyan. If it's Olam ben Aminyan, it's 7 aliyahs with a clarkite. You read the parsha 7 aliyahs. It's Olam ben Aminyan. That's pashat. You ask him if it's Olam ben Aminyan, it's very clear. You give 7 people aliyahs the way it's broken up in the Chumash, Sheni, Shlishi, Shvi. It's Mesuder. If it's Olam ben Aminyan, so then you just give 7 Shvi. Shvi is Maftir. Yeah, Shvi is Maftir.
What's not Olam?
Oh, very good. If it's not Olam ben Aminyan, you can hear 2 tzadim. Either the pshat is in Olam ben Aminyan means you have to give an 8th aliyah. That's clear. Let's not get confused. It's pasha. You need an 8th aliyah. The shaila is: do you break the parsha into 8 pieces, or the pshat is what we do? You have the parsha in 7, and Narvas you read over the last chelik. What's ein Olam ben Aminyan means you need to give an 8th aliyah. But how do you give the 8th aliyah? You repeat it, or you break it into 8 pieces. And the emes is just to know the reality. Metzias Lamaisa, these different mafters, and every week what we do is we repeat it. Yom Tif, we give the mafter, we don't repeat. Tosfos brings a raya that Al Karchach, it's not the way we do it that we repeat. Al Karchach, it's you split it into 8 aliyahs, the parsha into 8 aliyahs. Why? The Gemara wants to bring a raya. The Gemara a raya that Kriyas HaMaftir is Olam ben Aminyan. It's like the Gemara Meisvei. What's the raya? We have the Haftorah has 21 psukim. Keneged the 7 aliyahs, which the minimum is 3 psukim. Each aliyah is the minimum is 3 psukim. 7 times 3 is 21. It's Mila the Haftorah is 21 psukim. Taka this week's parsha Laminig Ashkenaz exactly 21 psukim. It's the only Haftorah in Ala Torah, this Yom Kippur also, that it's a whole Sefer Avadia, but it's 21 psukim. You could have less, but it's 21 psukim. Al Kaponim Zokti Gemara, if you hold that it's Eina Olam ben Aminyan, Zokti Gemara, so then you should need 24 psukim. Right? Because it's 8 aliyahs. 8 aliyahs, each one 3, is not 21, it's 24. 8 times 3 is 24. So Meil Zokti Gemara have a raya that it's Olam ben Aminyan. But Zok Tosfos, wait a second. If the way we're noyig that we only chazer over that aliyah, so then what's the kasha why it's 21 psukim? It's Eina Olam ben Aminyan. We chazer over the mafter, but be'etzem you only lane 21 psukim. It's like Simchas Torah, we lane the parsha as many times as you need. So you're doing it over and over, but it's 21 psukim. It's a raya that Eina Olam ben Aminyan means not the way we do, but you break up the parsha into 8 aliyahs. As is Tosfos. So the kasha. So what do we taka do? Lamaisa we're noig. We do chazer over. What's the pshat? So Tosfos is meyashiv. Tosfos says, very interesting. You know, you say Kaddish after. What do you say Kaddish after Kriyas HaTorah? In Sefer Keach says, you know why you say Kaddish after Kriyas HaTorah? Because when we read the Torah, these shemis in the Torah that we don't understand, and to be masakin that, Zok to Sefer Keach, we say Kaddish, Yiskadol v'Yiskadol Shmei Rabbah, to masakin that. Not always do you say Kaddish after every Kriyas HaTorah. L'mashal, by Mincha Shabbos you don't, but the Emma says you do, because we're Saimach on the Kaddish before Shmoneh Esrei. But by Shachris, there's enough of a hefsek, you could say Kaddish again. But on Kabbalah, you say Kaddish. Zok Toisvis. Bisman HaGemara, they moved the Kaddish in between the 7 Aliyahs and the Maftir. If it's Eino Olam and Aminyan, why did they put the Kaddish over there? They put the Kaddish to be mafsik between the regular Aliyahs and the Maftir, to show that it's not from the Chiyuv, the 7 Aliyahs, the Chiyuv Takanas Moshe Rabbeinu, the 7 Aliyahs. They put the Kaddish over there. Zok Tosfos, but that you could only do if the next Aliyah is a Chazara. If the 8th Aliyah would be not what we do, but you break up the parsha into 8 pieces, you can't put a Kaddish in the middle of the Kriya. So Mamela, Be'etzem, the Gemara bring the Meisvei, the Braisa. Originally the Kaddish was at the end of the parsha, the end of all the Aliyahs, and Mamela Taka was 8 Aliyahs, the parsha broken up. But now that the Kaddish, how we do is a Kaddish before the Maftir, if the Kaddish is before the Maftir, Mamela, what has to come out is that last Aliyah, we do like what we do is to chazer over that last Aliyah. Sure. So we have over here like this. The last Aliyah, the Maftir, Machlekes, if it's Olam and Aminyan, or Eino Olam and Aminyan, the Kaddish is a Kaddish to be mafsik between the Maftir to show that it's Eino Olam and Aminyan. What's L'maisa Halacha? What do we pass? Olam and Aminyan or Eino Olam and Aminyan? To say, could you do 7 Aliyahs or you have to do 8? The Halacha is that it's Olam and Aminyan. To say, Be'etzem you could do 7 Aliyahs. And I'm all what happens, I'll be in a Gei Adinim and Shulchan Aruch that it's 7 Aliyahs. 7 Aliyahs v'zehu. At Kedei Kach. There's even a Tzad L'Hakol Amol, if you have 3 Sefer Torah, you could do 5 1-on-1. You could have a 7 Aliyahs. These cases where Klor comes out 7 Aliyahs. However, what? Yeah, so it's interessant, but the word is a cotton we only know to give the mafter, even not to his sofas. That's also not a chiv. That's a different word, l'chayru, that you give a cotton. Good point what you're bringing out, but l'chayru, the cotton you have to mavar. Why dafka a mafter? Al kopanim, and I wonder, Taki, if there's only 7 aliyahs, that you could only give the cotton the mafter, and not if you have 10 aliyahs. It's also only the mafter, not to his sofas. But what's if there's only 7 aliyahs? I'm not remembering now. If there's only 7 aliyahs, the last aliyah is the mafter, you also can't give it to a cotton? Al Kapanim, we paskin that it's oilam and aminyan. However, hayois, Shabbos, you can make hoisafas. So maybe we add on aliyahs. We add on aliyah. Maybe we have an 8th aliyah. Pasha, because why not? Why not add on aliyah? So maybe we add on. To be choishish for the man damar. The emes is, what's taka the pshat? If we paskin, what's the makam chumra? If we paskin oila, what's the pshat? That Toisus brings from Rabbi Tam, and it's a broad halacha. At kedei kach, it's very interesting. I want to be moisev zevi on Yeshayla. The rivash, and Shuvas rivash, on the Gemara clarifies the shayla. Is it oila men aminyan, ain't oila men aminyan? Frek the rivash. Go check, see, what did they do? Was this 7 or 8 aliyahs? What's the shaila? If it's oiler, it's ain't oiler. Was this 7 or were the 8? What's the shaila? Zakter Rivash, how do we know that in Shul there were 8 aliyahs? Why? Because they were noyig that it's ain't oiler and aminyan. The shaila is that me'ikr adin or rak l'chumra. Means, even when the Gemara is clearing that shaila, that sad, that oilam and amin means in shul they did it regardless because they were choishish for the tzad that it's oilam and aminyan. But akapanim we paskin oilam and aminyan, which means 7. Lamaisa we're noyig to have an 8th aliyah. But how the Chavetz Chaim explains these 2 minhagim over here. These 2 minhagim. Minig number 1 is that we add an Aliyah. That's the Maftir is the 8th Aliyah. But on top of that, we also go with the other minig, like we saw what Tosfos brings, that the Kaddish is in between the 7th and 8th Aliyah. That's also a minig. We put it in between the 7th and the 8th Aliyah. There's an interesting Reb Kiveger that asks a Shaila in Hilchas Tisha B'Av. The place to handle this now over here. You can't handle it on Tisha B'Av. You're allowed to learn in Yoni Tisha B'Av, but this is misrabli, not Nichlal. It's a Geshmak, a long Reb Kiveger. Reb Kiveger asks the following. We just said now that you put the Kaddish in between the 7 Aliyahs and the Maftir. And about you have to chazer over the Maftir because you can't put it in the middle. Tisha B'Av, we have 3 Aliyahs in the morning. In the afternoon, every tainus, it's not going to be a Shaila because there's no Kaddish B'chlal. But Tisha B'Av in the morning, these 3 Aliyahs and Haftarah, which means the 3rd Aliyah is the Maftir. Where do we say the Kaddish? The Kaddish is in between the 3 Aliyahs and the Maftir. Frektiv Kiveger. We can't put the Kaddish before the Maftir, that I understand, because you can't put a Kaddish, like we saw in Tosfos, before you finish the Kriyas HaTorah. The Kriyas HaTorah is the 3 Aliyahs, you can't stick a Kaddish in the middle, you have to finish the Kriyas HaTorah. But Frektiv Kiveger, based off the din in the Shulchan Aruch, in Hilchas Shabbos, that you called up 7 people, and after the 7th Aliyah, you realize you have no one else that you could call up for Maftir that knows how to be Oila. So that 7th person, he's the one he was already Oila LaTorah, he'll be the one that gets the Haftarah. As this steht in Shulchan Aruch, explains the Magen Avram. And what do you do with the Kaddish? You say the Kaddish after Haftarah. Why do you say the Kaddish after Haftarah? Because if you're going to say the Kaddish in between the Kriyas HaTorah and the Haftarah, you're losing the Maila of giving the same person the Aliyah and the Torah and the Haftarah. If once he's a Kaddish in the middle, you broke it up. It's like if these 2 separate people made it 2 separate Aliyahs. If it's one person, Aliyah, and then again, Vait and Haftarah, it's all one. But you don't put a Kaddish in the middle. Frektiv Kivega, Moira Digger Shaila. The Kaddish L'chayra should be, we are on Tisha B'Av in the morning, the Kaddish should be after the Haftarah. Reb Kiveger didn't ask by every other time that these 3 Aliyahs, the Hainu, every Mincha, not by the Svad, but every Mincha we have Haftarah as well. Yom Kippur by Mincha, Maftir Yoinu, we have Haftarah. But there it's not a Shaila because there is no Kaddish. The only time it's Negei is Tisha B'Av in the morning. But Frektiv Kiveger, you should say the Kaddish after the Haftarah. Zakter Kiveger, even though I have such a Shaila that you should say the Kaddish after the Haftarah, Mekoyach Kashi, I'm not going to change the minig. As I said, Kiveger, it's important to know. I'm all you find. There's a Moiridig Kashi. If there's a minig, the minig is the Kaddish is in between, you say it, but the Kashi is the Chwai. Kiveger says, I don't change the minig, and he says, in the Mari Turner from the Rishonim, and Hoge Mari Turner already brings that the Kaddish should be in between the Kriyas HaTorah and the Haftarah. And that's Taka Halacha, the Shari Ephraim says the Kaddish is in between Kitzah Shulchan Aruch, Seder Yavitz. That's the Pashas, that's what we're knowing. And Shevet HaLevi is Miyashiv, and he says, it's not such a kasha. If one time a year the Kaddish is in between, a Zilzal is not going to come out. One time a year. It's not only one time a year. Every other time that you say a Kaddish in between, it works. Works the Hainu Shabbos, as we explained, it's Chazara. What's about Yom Tif? Yom Tif, it's Pasha. We spoke already about this in the past. Yom Tif, these 5 Aliyahs. You finish the Kriyas HaTorah Medina Dashas after 5 Aliyahs. Mitakonas HaGoinim, there's another Aliyah. So we use that as the Maftir. We talk add on Aliyah, like the Shitas that you can be Moisav on Yom Tif. But Al Kapanim, the Kaddish, after you finish the Kriya Medina Dashas, you say Kaddish. But what's about Tisha B'Av? Yeah, and the Chanami Tisha B'Av is taka one exception. V'oid Dr. B'Vozder, that the Haftorah already, you say a Kaddish, you're splitting it up, the Haftorah already goes with the Kinus, it's already Haschal of the Kinus, not such a kasha. However, Dr. Kiveger, that he found in the Marimint, in the other Shulchan Aruchs, they bring it to the Rimagash. I looked in the Rimagash, he's taka speaking about Tisha B'Av, but it's not clear. He's talking about Yom Kippur Mincha, Tisha B'Av, maybe it's Tisha B'Av Mincha, but there's no Kaddish. Al Kapanim, he brings that he found in the Rimagash, says that you say the Kaddish after the Haftarah. But Dr. Kivega like this, even though I'm not going to change the minig, but Dr. Kivega was Negei L'Maisa L'Halacha. Yom Kippur, you sell the Aliyah, Mincha, Maftir for a lot of money. A lot of people wanted to be Oila, so they made some breakaway minyanim, Dr. Kiveger, out of the shul, other kriyas. Hayois, after the kriya, there's going to be a hafsik back to the Kaddish. You say Kaddish by those other minyanim. You say Kaddish after the kriya. Dr. Kiveger, I paskin that they should say the Kaddish after the Haftorah, after Maftir Yoina. Over there, there's no be'etzim the geminig. It's not the norm to say Kaddish. If it's negay to say Kaddish, he said to say Kaddish afterwards. Let's go back a little bit now to the Seder Advarim, as we explained the Aliyah's Eina Oila Min Aminyan, we're choishish for that, and we say the Kaddish before the Maftir. So on every Shabbos, it's Pashat. These 7 Aliyahs, these are Kaddish and then these are Maftir. As we explained, Yom Tov is also like that. Yom Kippur, the Kriyas HaTorah, Kaddish and the Maftir. What's about if these 2 Sifrei Torah? It's also Pashat like that. L'mashal Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. So the second Kriya is the Maftir. The second Kriya is the Maftir. So you read the Parsha 7 Aliyahs, Kaddish, and then the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh. Dalet Parshiyas, the regular Parsha, Kaddish, and then the Dalet Parshiyas, Shabbos of Chanukah. Yom Tov is like that. Yom Tov also, like we mentioned. And the same thing is also 3 Sifrei Torah. 3 Sifrei Torah. Every Simchas Torah, you take out 3 Sifrei Torah. V'zayis HaBracha, Bereishis, and Maftir. So the Kaddish, it's a good just to remember, the Kaddish is before the Maftir. Between the 2nd and the 3rd Sefer Torah. That's where you say Kaddish. These 3 other times in the year where you could have 3 Sifrei Torah. Doesn't always happen, but it could happen. Shabbos Chanukah, if it falls out on Rosh Chodesh, is 3 Sifrei Torah. So you would have the Parshas HaShavua Miketz, then you would have Rosh Chodesh, Kaddish, and then Chanukah. And the same thing is also Parshas Shkolim, if it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, there'll be Parshas HaShavua, Rosh Chodesh, Kaddish, and then the Maftir, Shkolim, or the Maftir, and Shabbos HaChodesh. This is all with a Maftir, so it's very neat, it's very easy to remember. You always say the Kaddish before the Maftir. The last Aliyah is the Maftir. It's the Maftir because it's connected with the Aliyah of the Haftarah. And we had the Kasha of Rabbi Kiveger, b'makom where there isn't the Maftir Shlishi, you can't break it up, you can't be Moisav Aliyahs. What do? There are 2 times a year that you take out 2 Sifrei Torah, and there's no Maftir. One is coming up now, Rosh Chodesh Chanukah, when it's B'chayil, these 2 Sifrei Torah, 4 Aliyahs, and also Chalamoid Pesach, these the Kriya, the long Kriya, the Kriya, and then there's another Sefer Torah, the Kriya of the Karbonos, the Kollel, the 4th Aliyah. So over there, that there's no Maftir. We just said that the Kaddish is at the end of the whole Kriya. The Kaddish is at the end of the whole Kriya. Norvas, but Malcolm with is a Maftir, it's before the Maftir. But if there's no Maftir, it's at the end of the whole Kriya. So Mamela, Sai, you remember, you'll come, everyone's going to know when you say the Kaddish. You say the Kaddish at the end of all the Kriya Satira. Clear. It's going to be Negay now, Chanukah in a little bit. The Kaddish is afterwards, after all the Kriya. The same thing is, if you'll remember, Chalamoid Pesach, the Kaddish is at the end.
If someone said Kaddish before, you say it again?
I don't think so. The Svardim actually say, I think, Kaddish after every Sefer Torah.
What's the purpose of the Kaddish?
I don't know. You ask if you said the Kaddish before, I don't know. What's the purpose of the Kaddish? So I said over from the Sefer Rekeach, that the Rekeach says that it's, you could see it inside, I have it printed over here. When we read in the Torah these shemis from the Rabbi Shalom that we don't understand, so it's kilu to be masak, and we say Kaddish afterwards, Yiskadav Meir, but that's why we say Kaddish. So now I want to just say like this, what happens if you said Kaddish in between? Good Shiur, by Maftir you say it before. But I want to end off with one more nakuda. Maybe it'll be mavar, but this is one more lashlama sa'idim, and with this I'm going to conclude. You say Kaddish before the Maftir, so on a regular Shabbos it's very simple, no shilas come about. You're in the same Sefer Torah, so you read 7 Aliyahs till the end of the parsha, you say Kaddish, and then you have another Aliyah. What happens when you have 2 Sefer Torah? So we said clearly you say Kaddish, let's say Yom Tov. Every Yom Tov you have 2 Sefer Torah. You say the Kaddish, we said before the Maftir, it means between the first and the second Sefer Torah. So how does it work? On the Shulchan Aruch and the Shiur brings from the Poskim that you're supposed to put down the second Sefer Torah before you say Kaddish. And the reason for that is that the Kaddish should go on both. So, if you didn't put the second Sefer Torah, I don't know. But Al Kapanim, the Kaddish should go on both, but we'll soon see in a minute why what I mentioned before it might be Mevar, what you asked, we'll soon see in a minute. So immediately you put the second Sefer Torah. Stellt sich aber the Shaila, so good, it's very good, it's very clear. Nachum, any time that is a Maftir, you put down the Maftir Sefer Torah, and then you say Kaddish, so the Kaddish goes on both. But what happens, we just spoke a minute ago about a Kriyas HaTorah without a Maftir, and the Kaddish is all the way at the end. That means you're going to have over here a Chodesh and Chanukah in about 2 weeks that you're going to lane. So we said clearly, if you're going to want to know where to say the Kaddish, Kollel, the Kaddish is at the end. But then, with the Sefer Torah, when you're about to say Kaddish, there's only one Sefer Torah, the second Sefer Torah on the Bima. What's with the first Sefer Torah? You already did Hagbah, you put the Sefer Torah back. So Pashtus, the Pashtus and the Poskim, that's the meaning, and that's the Halacha. Pashtus, you do not put back the Sefer Torah for 2 reasons. First of all, it's a Ganai. You're putting the Sefer Torah on the Bima, and you're not laning from it. You laned already. V'oid, Dr. Levush, that the Chaim Moshe says, the Levush says, that versteht sich, it's going on that Sefer Torah also. You're laying from it. Avada, you're saying the Kaddish on the Kriya. Does it have to dafka be on the Bima? It's over there. Lafuke, the opposite. If you're saying the Kaddish in between the 2 Sefer Torah, and you didn't lane yet the second Sefer Torah, so you didn't lane yet, so over there the Kaddish is not going on that Sefer Torah. Klor. That's the Pashtus. Grad and Sid the Yavitz, he says, you do put back the first Sefer Torah. And the emes is, and with this I conclude, the emes is that it's negay with 3 Sefer Torah also. It's the same thing. We said with a Klorkite that when these 3 Sefer Torah, the Kaddish is where? Before the 3rd Sefer Torah, Klor, right? Before the Maftir. It's very easy to remember, before the Maftir. And it's also Klor, like we said, that you put that Maftir Sefer Torah that you didn't lane yet, you put it on. So you're holding Simchas Torah, it's tumult, could be you drank even a little bit, you're holding, it's Klor, you're laying the 2nd Sefer Torah, the Bereshis. You're about to say Kaddish, but first put down the 3rd Sefer Torah, the Maftir. What's about the 1st Sefer Torah? Do you also put the 1st Sefer Torah back on the Bima also? Do you have 3 Sefer Torah on the Bima at the same time? So there also the Pashtus, the Magen Avram, over here the Magen Avram says nearly that you should put it back. The same like what we saw before, Lagabi 2 Sefer Torah. But Lamaisi says, Ve'ena minikein, the Chavetz Chaim Shiur brings the Halacha, the Taka. We're not noyig. What you do is you say the Kaddish after, in between the 2nd and the 3rd Sefer Torah. You put the 3rd Sefer Torah that you didn't lane yet, but you don't bring back the 1st Sefer Torah.
And why Taka don't we say Kaddish after everything?
By Maftir?
Yeah.
Because Lamaisa